What would happen to a river if a big factory suddenly started working on its bank? Or what if the number of consumers in a food chain kept increasing and increasing? These changes don't just stay in one place, they affect the whole environment, and that's why we need to talk about environmental conservation. First, what affects the environment? There are two kinds of factors, natural and man made. Natural factors are events that happen without human control. For example, earthquakes, right? Man made factors are caused by human activities. A good example is deforestation, that is, cutting down trees on a large scale. When natural factors and artificial factors harm the environment together, they create imbalance among different parts of the nature. That imbalance finally affects the very existence of living or biotic factors. So, what is environmental pollution? Generally, when any material gets contaminated, we say it's polluted, correct? Environmental pollution means unnecessary and unacceptable change in our surroundings due to natural events or human activities. In other words, if the physical, chemical, or the biological properties of air, water, or soil change directly or indirectly in ways that are harmful to humans and other living beings, that is environmental pollution. Now, why is pollution increasing today? There are several reasons. Population explosion, fast industrialization, indiscriminate use of natural resources, that is, exploiting natural resources, deforestation and unplanned urbanization. That means cutting down trees and building concrete jungles, what we call buildings, skyscrapers, all that. All of these raise the level of pollution and put pressure on Earth's system. Pollution is a broad concept and it appears in many forms around us: air pollution, water pollution, sound pollution, soil pollution, and thermal pollution. The ultimate bad effect of all these types is on the existence of every living organism. Because of that, environmental conservation has become the need of the hour. Let's look a little deeper at what pollutes different parts of our environment. For air pollution, the components include gases like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, which means compounds of hydrogen and carbon, then sulfur compounds, nitrogen oxides, and hydrogen sulfide. There are solids too: dust, ash, carbon, lead in the environment, which is coming out of automobiles, and asbestos. For water pollution, important sources are industrial waste, domestic waste being dumped into the water, sewage being run into the river bodies, chemicals discharged from the industries, and pesticides used in agriculture. And for soil pollution, the effects we see include soil erosion, retarded growth of plants and crops, and nutritional deficiency in the soil altogether. At this point, you might ask, why is controlling pollution so important? Because controlling pollution is a key part of environmental conservation. So, what is the need for environmental conservation? So, what is the need for environmental conservation? We need conservation to maintain balance in nature and to solve both natural and artificial problems. But there is a challenge. Many people are not fully aware of the rules and practices of environmental conservation. To really solve these environmental problems, protection and conservation must become an effective public movement with a large scale participation. Values like positive attitude towards the environment, knowledge about it should be indicated in children from the early years. Education and awareness will help the next generation become more responsible about protecting nature. There are a couple of laws that are enacted about the environmental conservation. First is the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. The land reserved for the forest conservation has been prohibited to use for any other purpose by this law. Example, permission of central government is compulsory for mining activities. Any person who disobeys this law is entitled for imprisonment for 15 days. This is Forest Conservation Act of 1980. Then we have Environmental Protection Act of 1986. Purpose of this act is to control the pollution and punish the persons or institutes harming the environment. Any person or factory is prohibited by this act from releasing the pollutants in the atmosphere beyond a permissible limit. The person breaching this rule is entitled for either 5-year imprisonment or up to 1 lakh rupees fine. Also, very interesting, National Green Tribunal has been established in 2010 for effective implementation of environmental relation related laws.